Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an action drama movie called Risen. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in 33 AD, where we see a Roman soldier named Clavius walking through the Judean desert. He comes across an innkeeper who feeds him and invites him to stay for a while. The innkeeper then notices his tribune ring and wonders why such a high-ranking commander is in this remote location. In response, Clavius begins to tell him about the recent events he witnessed. In a flashback, we see Clavius fighting alongside his fellow soldiers against another army. It turns out the Roman Empire has been ruling Judea for 30 years. The Jews are praying to their god, Yahweh, for the appearance of a savior, while the leaders are maintaining a fragile peace. Clavius, under the governor's orders, is leading the army to exterminate Jews who disobey orders. However, he is very unhappy with his job and only wants to advance in rank so that he can earn enough money to retire. After the battle, Clavius heads to Jerusalem, where he meets the governor, Pilate. The latter orders him to execute a Jewish troublemaker named Yeshua. He reveals that this man has been calling himself the Messiah, and many are beginning to believe him. As a result, the council has sentenced him to death by crucifixion. Pilate also mentions that the Roman emperor will soon arrive, so the city must be in order by then. For this mission, he assigns Clavius a new subordinate named Lucius. In the next scene, as Clavius and Lucius are riding to the execution site, a huge earthquake occurs. This is generally a bad omen in their culture. When they arrive at the location, they notice that the three criminals are crucified, but still alive. The one in the middle is Yeshua, who is none other than Jesus himself. A soldier then informs Clavius that he had uttered the words, "It's finished," just before the earthquake struck. Following this, Clavius directs them to kill these criminals. The soldiers punish the two thieves in various ways before finishing them off. But when it comes to Yeshua, Clavius notices his mother crying and screaming in the distance. Feeling sorry for her, he kills Yeshua with a single stab from his spear. He then orders his subordinates to notify Governor Pilate that the job is done. Jesus died because Clavius wanted to retire. Afterward, the soldiers begin to remove the dead bodies one by one from the cross. The bodies of the two thieves are dumped nearby in a pit. But when it's Yeshua's turn, his disciple Joseph arrives with a letter from Pilate, granting permission to bury him in his family tomb. After reading the letter, Clavius allows him to take the body, while Joseph goes to comfort Yeshua's mother. The next day, Clavius is once again summoned by Pilate. He suggests that Yeshua's body be cremated since the man claimed he would resurrect on the third day of death. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a visit from the high priest, Caiaphas, who claims that cremation is forbidden in their religion. He asserts that the Roman administration must ensure that the tomb remains closed and prevent Yeshua's disciples from stealing his body. Later, Clavius heads to the tomb and confirms that the dead body is still intact inside. A heavy cylindrical stone is rolled in front of the opening, which takes 7 men to move. The stone is held together with ropes and sealed with official Roman seals. After arranging everything, Clavius leaves 2 bodyguards at the tomb to keep watch 24/7. The next morning, Pilate summons Clavius again, and he appears to be furious. He reveals that Yeshua's body has vanished from the tomb, and the 2 guards are also missing. He wants to settle the issue before the high priests arrive, but Caiaphas suddenly shows up. He explains that the guards were afraid of being punished, so they hid in the Jewish temple. According to Caiaphas, the guards were attacked by Yeshua's disciples at night. The disciples then broke open the tomb and stole the body. Hearing this, Pilate becomes worried, knowing that rumors of Yeshua's resurrection are already spreading in the town. Therefore, he orders Clavius to find the body as soon as possible. Pilate then reveals that the Roman emperor is arriving in a few days, and by then, this matter must be resolved. Afterward, Clavius and Lucius return to the tomb and find it empty. They see that the ropes holding the stone are not cut, but simply burst, as if someone had torn them apart. The massive stone, which is difficult to move even with a group of soldiers, is thrown several meters from the entrance. Following this, Clavius and his subordinates begin searching for the body all over town. They start by opening all the new graves in Jerusalem to examine for crucifixion scars. When this does not work, Lucius arrests all the people in the city who publicly speak about the resurrection of Yeshua. Days later, Clavius begins interviewing the people who were close to the mysterious man. First, he meets with Joseph, who believes that Yeshua Yeshua's disciples are too distraught to steal the body. He also reveals that if Yeshua were still alive, he would treat Clavius as a brother. Before leaving, Joseph hands him a crown of thorns, claiming it to be Yeshua's. Clavius then interrogates a blind woman who claims that although she can't see Yeshua, she heard his voice 2 days ago, and he sounded so handsome. Afterward, a beggar shows up and reveals that he heard about a prostitute named Mary who claimed to have met the resurrected Yeshua, but she has also been missing since Yeshua's body vanished. Upon hearing this, Clavius immediately assembles an army and sets out to find her. They soon discover her entering a bar and manage to capture her. Clavius then brings her in for interrogation and asks her about Yeshua. However, she starts speaking in riddles that make no sense at all. This makes Clavius assume that she's insane, so he lets her go. The next day, he meets with the beggar again and bribes him for more information. The latter reveals that Yeshua had 12 disciples, but now there are only 11 remaining. He gives him the name and addresses of one of Yeshua's closest disciples, Bartholomew. Clavius then goes to meet Bartholomew, who cheerfully introduces himself and agrees to be questioned. However, his words don't make much sense, and he doesn't provide any useful information. When asked about the location of the other disciples, the man refuses to betray his companions. He offers to be crucified if he has done something wrong, but Clavius lets him go unharmed. In the evening, Clavius finds one of the tomb guards at a bar getting drunk. He begins to ask what happened that night, and the guard narrates the same story of being attacked by the disciples. But when Clavius continues to press him, he finally agrees to tell the truth. He reveals that they were drinking wine that night and soon fell asleep. Around midnight, they woke up to a bright light and saw the ropes of the tomb snapping. The stone was blown away like leaves and sunlight filled the tomb. They then saw a figure speaking in an incomprehensible language.
"I'm straight bussin', no cap on God for real,"
which terrified them and caused them to flee. He then admits that Caiaphas bribed them with money and asked them to change their story. Clavius finds the whole story ridiculous. However, he realizes that the guard is telling the truth. The next day, Clavius and his soldiers raid a town in Hebron, where he unexpectedly comes across Mary. He follows her into a room where all the disciples have gathered, including the resurrected Yeshua himself. Seeing him, Clavius is shaken to the core and can hardly believe his eyes. He drops his sword and asks Lucius and his troops to go back. Afterward, he enters the room where Yeshua invites him to join them. Clavius notices the scars on both his hands and the spear wound in his abdomen. Before he can ask questions, Yeshua vanishes right in front of him. This shocks not only Clavius, but other disciples as well. However, Mary calms them down by informing them that Yeshua has promised to see them again in Galilee. Following this, the group sets off for Galilee through the desolate wilderness. They are followed by Clavius, who is in desperate need of clarity regarding the resurrection of Yeshua. Back in Jerusalem, Lucius leads Pilate to the room where Clavius was last seen. The room is empty, but they find a letter from Clavius. In it, he clarifies that he has not been kidnapped, but is pursuing Yeshua to find out the truth. This expectedly enrages Pilate, as he believes his loyal commander has betrayed him. Therefore, he orders Lucius and the other soldiers to find Clavius and kill him. On the other hand, Clavius keeps a close eye on the disciples of Yeshua. When a guy named Peter offers him water, he attacks and injures him out of hostility. However, Clavius soon feels bad and decides to give up his weapons. He then joins the disciples, who greet him warmly. "We didn't like Peter anyway," and share some of their meal with him. The following day, the venture continues, but Clavius finds out that Pilate's soldiers have also caught up to them. He leads the disciples through a hidden path in the mountains, where they begin to crawl on the ground. Shortly after, Lucius appears out of nowhere and tries to attack them, but Clavius somehow overpowers him and snatches his sword. He then pins Lucius against the wall and declares that nobody will die today. Clavius simply gives him his sword back and asks him to return to the city. Strangely, Lucius obliges and leaves without saying a word. After some time, the group arrives in Galilee and waits for Yeshua. When he does not appear, they begin to feel extremely hungry. So they board a boat and go fishing on the Sea of Galilee. They cast their nets at night and wait for hours, but not even a single fish is caught. As dawn breaks, they notice a figure wearing a robe in the distance. The man asks if they have caught any fish, and when they say no, he tells them to cast the net to the right side. One of the disciples promptly obeys, and he can't believe that they haven't thought of that yet. And they end up catching a large number of fish. As they steer the boat toward the shore, they realize that the man is none other than Yeshua himself. The disciples run to him in joy, while Clavius looks at them with a smile. Afterward, the group eats sets the fish in a small village by the sea. There, Yeshua sees a sick man stealing and being punished by the villagers. He grabs a fish and goes to the man to feed him. Yeshua then hugs him and kisses his forehead, which immediately cures his illness. The man's burns and scars fade, leaving him with his natural appearance. Clavius watches in shock as the sick man gets up and starts walking like a normal person. That night, Clavius cannot sleep, so he goes to speak with Yeshua. He is remorseful that he couldn't prevent Yeshua's crucifixion and simply stood there. In response, the Almighty smiles and says that he knows. He then asks Clavius what he wants: peace, love, or a day without bloodshed. Clavius is left speechless, and he doesn't have the words to speak. He simply looks up at the night sky while crying. The next morning, as everyone awakens, Yeshua prepares to ascend to heaven. He informs his disciples that he will prepare a place for them there. He then asks them to preach and spread the gospel throughout the world. Moments later, he transforms into a light vortex and disappears into the sky. After this, the disciples head back to Jerusalem to spread the gospel. Peter asks Clavius to join them, but he refuses. "I still don't like you, Peter," and decides to set off on his own. Back in the city, Lucius approaches Pilate and claims that he didn't find Clavius or the disciples. This forces the governor to give up on his pursuit. In the present, Clavius shares this story with the innkeeper, leaving him speechless. He admits that it sounds silly, but it is true from start to finish. As the movie ends, Clavius leaves behind his golden tribune ring, implying that he has ended his military career for good. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.